Hi everybody, Eric Dorward here for our next stage in building our Estes Low Boom SST model. And so we've got our paper construction here that's going to be the back end of the model. It's pretty good. I think what ultimately we're going to, well, what I think is a good idea here is this bit's probably going to have to be sanded down a bit. And yeah, sanding paper doesn't sound like it would work, but I mean, it does. It's just, it's not super fun, but it's definitely doable. All right, so we left off getting ready to attach this to this, which is the motor mounts. It's going to go on like this. And having, you should probably do this first, test that everything works. We need to leave a quarter of an inch, which we've marked. So it's going to get set up like this. And we're ready, I guess. We'll just glue it in place. I'm actually going to push it all the way up here. And then I'm going to put glue, and there it goes. I'm going to put glue around the tube here, the motor mount, at the two spots where I've marked the line. In fact, I'm going to do it just in front of this one because the back quarter of an inch or so is going to be sticking out. So I'm going to end up pushing this. And then same deal here, I guess. This doesn't matter as much because this thing is going to go inside the rocket body. And I'm actually going to be pushing two things past it. All right, so that's great. Let's just slide it down here. Slide, slide, slide. And make sure that I stop it at my mark. There's a lot of excess glue here, which I'm going to remove with my finger. And that should be pretty good. All right, so checking our instructions here. Always good to have the instructions. Oops, we lost a lot of stuff there. Oh well. The next step then is we need to attach the remaining rings here. So basically we're going to have, this is going to fit in like this. So that's going to butt right against the end of the bottom end of this tube. But we need something for it to actually like stick to. So the remaining rings here are going to be so that this thing will actually fit and attach to the main rocket body. All right, so checking the instructions, it looks like one of them is going to go basically right up flush against this part. And the glue there is definitely still wet. It shouldn't really go anywhere. I'm not going to mess with it too much. But I don't want to just like bash it around or anything like that. I shouldn't want to do that anyway. But in any event, so one of them is going to go basically right up against there, and the second one is going to go right up at the end. So I'm going to put some more glue on here. Basically, this glue is going to go right in the crack, like so. That's probably pretty good. And this one's going to go right. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that for a second. We'll come back to that. So I'm going to squish this up, and I want, the idea here is that there should be something for this body tube to grab onto. So I'm going to leave it just ever so slightly separated, and I'm running my finger in here to move it away, which is proving to be less than effective. Let's try using two fingers, finger on each side. All right, fine, don't cooperate. There we go. So it's not very far away from the cylinder we built here, but it's enough. There's enough distance so that you can see a little bit of light of day there. That's going to be fine. So it's going to fit in like this, and the slightest bit here, I'm still going to have this tube flush with the cylinder we built. But if this is all the way in there, there's not going to be much space for purchase. So that should be fine. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to put a little bit of glue here to act as, a fillet. Might as well, right? This is the last time I'm really going to have access to this thing before it goes into the rocket body. So wouldn't hurt. Shouldn't really need it all that much, but As always, it doesn't hurt to have a little extra strength. All right, next, we're going to put glue right at the end, and this ring is going to come back to the very end of the motor mount here. And this one, when they're right at the end, it's pretty easy. Just put it down like this, slide it down the tube, and push it until it is flat against your surface. Of course, it'll leave a nice glue ring there for you to clean up. That's okay. I've got a paper towel here, and we'll just clean that up as best we can. Lovely. Okay, now, as per usual with the motor mount, we're going to put an engine block in, and to do that, we're going to use one of these yellow tubes. And there's the engine block. By the way, since I have these, instead of using a hook or some kind of friction fit, this is actually pretty nice. So this is going to go over the end like so, and it's going to be a screw-on motor engine retainer. Oops. Why it's coming off, I don't know. There we go. Now it's on. But I obviously don't want to attach that now. In fact, even though the instructions say I should be doing this in the somewhat near future, this I'm only going to put on, well, this specifically, I'm only going to put on after painting is done. It's going to be one of the last things, and I'm going to crazy glue it in place. All right, oops, don't need that either. So we need to put the engine, sorry, the motor block, so this little green thing, in here, and we need to make sure that we have it far enough in. So this next instruction is pretty familiar. We're going to measure 1/4 of an inch on this. I probably have dozens of these little yellow tubes lying around with a mark at 1/4 of an inch, but now I have one more. So again, if you are not familiar, it's going to go in this far, and that's going to tell us where to stop. So next thing we need is we need some glue, and we need the dowel, which, oh boy, it's been a while, and it is, there we go, very firmly attached. You can see that in the past, I've lost bits of my dowels over the years because I've let them completely firm up on the inside. All right, so that's more than enough glue, one would think. And I want to put this in about 2 inches. You could certainly grab your ruler and measure, but I actually have a mark right there that's about 2 inches. So I will use that as a guide. And I'm just going to paint the inside of this with my glue. And at least for the first bit, I'm not really going to look and see what I did. I'm just going to use up most of my glue here and kind of twist the rocket a little bit each time. Off camera here you can't see, but I'm having a peek down the tube, and it's not terribly thorough, but I'm not super worried about getting glue everywhere it needs to be. That's probably good enough. All right, so in goes the little green bit. This actually fits. It's not the world's tightest fit, which, make this easy. But anyway, in goes the yellow tube. Do not leave the yellow tube in place. Do not push it past the line. If you push it past the line, you're going to have to retrieve the motor mount, and that's really hard to do. You'd have to go in from this way and push it back out, which is not fun, especially if the glue's starting to set. Speaking of the glue setting, remove this before it sets and chuck it, because you don't really need it. Unless you want to have a collection like mine, which there are like a dozen of those things just lying around over there. Sometimes I actually use them. So like if I have 2 of them and I have a 2-stage model, just for display purposes, I tape it together and use it to hold the kit together. But there's really not much you need to do with it. All right, so that's the motor mount. The motor mount is built. Now this needs to dry thoroughly. The next step, just for future reference, is it's going to go inside the main body, and then you'll notice that there are these dashed lines on it. We need to then use this information to extend lines down this, so we can actually then attach the fins, the 2 big fins that we built, and there's a tail fin, the third fin that's a tail fin, somewhere else. But before that happens, the glue needs to dry. So that's kind of it for this video. So in the next video, actually in between now and then, I'm going to attach this and I'm going to extend the lines. It's just putting some glue on. And while I'm thinking about it, I should probably put a fillet here. Just to make this nice and strong. The directions don't actually say to do it, but it rarely hurts. It rarely hurts to add fillets, especially to stuff like fins and motor mounts that are going to take a decent amount of abuse from the process of launching and flying the rocket. All right, anyway, so next step, off camera, not in the next video, this is going to go in. I'm going to mark the lines and we will pick it up from there. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.